What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the Sports Card Report. This is week 5, and if you've been following along, you already know this is where we break down what's actually happening in the sports card hobby each week. Not just what's going on, but how to actually think about the hobby if you want to get better at it. This week, we're talking about something that a lot of collectors struggle with: when to buy and when to sell. Because timing in the sports card market matters a lot more than most people think. Let's start with this. One of the biggest patterns in the hobby is how card prices change depending on the time of year. During the season when a player is performing well, their card prices go up. If a player is on a hot streak, making headlines, having big moments, more people start buying their cards, pushing their prices higher. But in the off-season, things tend to slow down a little. There's less attention, hype, and in a lot of cases, prices plummet. And that creates opportunity. A lot of experienced collectors actually prefer buying in the off-season and selling during the season because you're buying when attention is low and selling when attention is high. It sounds simple, but a lot of people do the opposite, really. They buy when everyone is talking about a player, and that's usually when prices are already inflated. Let's talk about this a step further now. Another important concept is understanding peaks. Every player has moments where their market peaks. Maybe a playoff run, a huge game, they win an award. The moment creates spikes in their demand. And if you're holding that player's card at that time, that's often when selling makes the most sense. Because once that moment passes, prices will cool off. Now, obviously, not every player follows the exact same pattern. Some players continue to grow over time, especially if they build a long, consistent career. But even then, there are still short-term peaks along the way. Now let's talk about something that's actually a really interesting opportunity right now. Buying players when they're quiet, not trending, going viral, not being talked about. Because these moments are when the cards are undervalued. And if that player starts performing again or has a breakout moment, their prices move quickly. So instead of chasing hype, a smarter strategy is sometimes to look for players that nobody is paying attention to right now. Let's get into the new segment of the week: buy, sell, hold. Each week I'm going to give 3 types of players or card situations and how I would approach them. So first, buy. This week, buy is young players with hype that has cooled off. These are players who are really popular that had a slower stretch, and now people have moved on. Because if they bounce back, their cards can rise quickly again. Now sell. Sell is currently players at peak hype. If a player is everywhere, trending constantly, their prices have spiked hard. That's a sign when you're closer to the top than the bottom. That doesn't mean they won't go higher, but the risk increases. And finally, hold. Hold is established stars, players who are consistently great year over year. Their cards might not spike overnight, but they tend to hold value better over time. They're safer, long-term pieces in a collection, and this kind of thinking is what separates random buying from actually understanding the hobby. Now, one last thing before we wrap up. If you really want to get better at timing the market, you need to pay attention to patterns. Watch when prices rise, watch when they fall. Watch what causes those changes, because once you start recognizing those patterns, the hobby starts to make a lot more sense. And that's going to wrap up week 5 of the Sports Card Report. Each week we're breaking down the hobby in a way that actually helps you understand what's going on and how to approach it. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss next week. And let me know in the comments, are you a buyer, a seller, or someone who just holds? I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.